There, we are going to be going live with Alisa, and we are going to be talking all things grief and I don't know, going deep. We're going to be going deep with this one. A lot of you guys wanted this to be saved to the grid, and I didn't do that last time, so we have to do that now. All right. Looks like Alisa joined. I'm going to ask her to join us. Just one second. And we're going to be going over the majority of what we went through last time, but now that we know each other a little better, we're going to really dive in. Hi.
Hi. I'm good.
Good.
Oh gosh, it's funny how
So we're kind of going to be doing a review, but I kind of like it because afterwards you and I spoke a little bit and we're like, hey, there's so much more to this. So essentially, I've got all our notes. We are talking about grief, but not in a way that maybe some have heard. Okay. And through like crisis, we sort of either push it away or we go down deeper or we transmute it, right? But sometimes it's a longer process, sometimes it's a shorter process. And I am of the opinion that the deeper you go, the more you allow yourself to go deep, the better the outcome, the more manifestation capabilities there are, but also there's this transmutation that happens that's I think that's what we're here for. We're here to and this is our purpose. And even if we haven't, found our purpose at work or our purpose at home, we can find our purpose like within ourselves. And I think some of that has to do with grief, essentially. So can you tell the people who you are and what you do, I guess, first?
yeah. Well, thanks first of all for having me on. I'm so excited to be here and just feel very honored to be a part of this platform that has changed so many lives. The last live that we did, you didn't save, and I already had so many people start following me and messaging me just from that one live stream. So
Yeah.
just grief it is to me, what I found recently in the last 2.5 years since I lost my husband, that's where I went to the depths of grief that I had never felt before. But what it did is it awakened me to actually become more curious about who I am, and who it started with, I got this download of, do you want to live? And the answer was like, yeah, duh, of course I want to live. I'm 51. It's a lot younger than we thought either of us would pass. And then there was a roar that said, how? And I immediately went into the feelings. I want to feel love, abundance, um, uh, just self-awareness, And so it was then, because I went into those feelings, that I literally went into a cocoon and became aware of who I was. And it opened me up to living my most authentic self. And one of the things that's shocking is with David, we had created a life we didn't need a vacation from, and we were helping others do the same. And I would argue very firmly that I was already living my authentic self. I did have self-love. But what David's death, the gift that it gave to me, was to be able to sit still and actually everything we have is within us. And that's what I discovered, that it's just unraveling the layers of programming and childhood wounds, all the things. I'm like, my childhood was awesome. Are you kidding? I didn't have any wounding. And oh my gosh, like, shocking. So yeah, I believe that's kind of what I think we awakened in the last live stream. Now, who I am, honestly, like I don't even like give myself a label, because it's constantly flowing, and I'm just consistently, when I'm either challenged or triggered, or I go through grief, because we all do in all sorts of forms, instead of projecting or trying to fix me, I actually go inside and I'm like, okay, friend, what is this showing me? And
Right.
it's more of like a greeting, so yes.
And it's a deeper, because I think people that try and escape the ego, I've heard like lots of gurus and self-helpers say, like the ego's mad. And I'm like, actually, the ego is your amigo just a little bit, because this is what's kept you safe. And once we get curious about the ego and like why we do what we do and why we don't allow ourselves to feel those depths, that's where the transmutation happens, like you were just saying. But I asked, we were talking last time, I asked what happens to the body when grief or sadness or, realization or the reality of a situation isn't metabolized, and how does that affect our Taurus field? So let's just go there, because I think what happened, and in my case as well, I thought I had it. It was good. And then the crisis came, and I had to metabolize not just the grief of separation, but also the grief of my dad and the move to the United States, and all the, even like childbirth, there was some grieving of the old self there. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the death of a loved one, and it can be, and it doesn't have to be separation. It can be the death of our former self, and the evolution, I guess, because it is bittersweet. I'm actually experiencing some serious grief right now with Ada going to college. Yesterday, she had this capstone project that was like this. It's like a senior thesis, and I'm sitting here, and I mean, we're surrounded by distinguished people. And then she gets up, and I had parents come up to me and the principal, and people say, you know what, she's special. And I'm like, but that special is now leaving the nest. And it was so hard. And I grieved, like in the car, I just like let it out. Right. And I'm still, so this is very timely, Alisa.
Yeah.
When we don't allow ourselves to ugly cry in the parking lot of the post office, okay, grief can't be metabolized. But when we also don't allow ourselves to go a little bit deeper, it becomes unresolved tension in the body. I'm just going to read our little notes, because you and I surfed and volleyed. We did these. Tighten and around what the psyche can't process, and it leads to long-term emotional numbness and hypervigilance. Guilty as charged.
Yes.
Psychologically, this turns into patterns of avoidance, detachment, or compulsive control. Again, I feel like I'm being called out. I don't like it. Energetically, the Taurus field begins to collapse inward, limiting expansion and disrupting flow. This field stagnation blocks manifestation, and that is my biggest hang up, because I am a little bit petty and I want to manifest more, okay, all the time. Not because grief is low vibe, but because it distorts the signal. So when you haven't metabolized it and you haven't really dug into it, it'll distort that signal, and you might start to attract the same kind of person, or you might start to be stuck in a cycle with work, right? The universe can only respond to absolute clear signal, and unprocessed grief scrambles that frequency. Yeah. So that's how it affects our little Taurus, right? We're always spinning and spitting out, spinning and spitting. That's kind of how it goes. What's one thing that you realized was spinning in the Taurus for you? You're like, oh, here it is again.
Yeah. The interesting thing that was shocking was I was codependent. I mean, if you would have known me before with David, I would have said I would have fought you, like fist cuffs, like fought, because I was, in my mind, the most independent. I could do everything on my own. If I had a challenge, I acknowledged it, but then it was like forge ahead, like get those blinders on and get the job done. My number one in all the the little tests that you do was achiever, like number one achiever. And so to answer your question, what I noticed right away, because I started deep diving when I went into the feeling of what I wanted to be in this healing journey, when really at the beginning, I just wanted to be able to breathe without pain, to be honest. Like I wasn't even thinking about what my life was going to be like or any goals at all, which is, again, totally opposite of who I was before. But I noticed these patterns of codependency, and the people in my life that would show up, and then, oh my gosh, like going all the way back to childhood, and that those patterns of codependency were holding me, like you said, from true manifestation of having no attachments, no expectations. And honestly, I'm still learning that. I think I've come a long way, but
Yeah.
come on, like who doesn't want to still have expectations of like, what it's going to look like, what it's going to, I don't know, all things.
Yeah.
So it's been what I've been learning, but the pattern was the codependency. And it was shocking, because when I thought I nailed it out the park, I drew in a relationship that was not a boyfriend, girlfriend, sexual, because my pattern was dating to marry. I dated, I got married. David and I were each other's first teenage boyfriend and girlfriend. We married other people. How we met was through my aunt, who passed away, and that's how we reconnected in the middle of my divorce. And we were married within a year. I literally had never had a meal by myself. I mean, because I have a daughter too, so I had never slept in my house alone. Like, because of my daughter, not because I, went from one relation to the other, but no judging. Like if you did, no judgment there.
No,
I'm just saying for me, like it was like literally 30 years of marriage with only 1 year of being single, which I was dating David. And so when I first opened up to peopling again, I called it took me like 6 months to like manifest my first butterfly move. The first person that I drew in, man, I mean, beautiful soul, great friend, but literally it took me 2 years to realize codependency, even though you're not calling it a relationship, it's still like we did stuff as a family, we hung out, and so it was a mirror to, okay, I've got to sit with that. And recognize it, really honor it. It served me well before. I mean, I had 2 great marriages, even though the first one ended in divorce. We're still friends. He's the father of my child,
right.
so no regrets.
And that's so interesting because, yeah, that's so interesting. Um, and the codependency isn't just like, oh, in a relationship, it dates back. So when one of the questions, I mean, you and I just have this ad nauseum here. What if you knew that grief was part of this, that's a key ingredient, like flour to a cake. Okay, I guess you
Yeah.
could do flour stocking. Like egg, whatever binder is to a cake. If grief is this integral part, if you knew that, how would you have treated it differently? Would you have allowed it to sit and stay? Would you have looked at it as a friend? Would you have dissected the molecular structure and said, okay, where does this binder fit in? Because if I would have known that the deeper allowed myself to cry, ugly cry in my closet on my knees, if I would have allowed myself to have those nights alone more rather than, seek out friends or connection, or maybe more sober nights after like a divorce, right? If that would have sped up my timeline
Yeah.
to where I am now, I totally would have allowed that more. Did
Yeah.
you just shed a tear?
Well, I'm getting teary-eyed.
You're so
Yes.
cute. I love you.
because what it is it like it is reminding me of the journey that you're awakening, that when you've processed it, it's not like you forget it, but you've timeline hopped and jumped, and so unless you go into the past, you don't feel those emotions anymore as much. So what you reminded me of is like, okay, so David and I taught people to fail forward every day because society teaches you that mistakes are wrong. So we were teaching our tribe, mistakes are the best thing that come to you because you learn so much about yourself. And a mistake is only not a learn if you keep doing the same mistake over and over. So as long as you pivot, right? So then I paralleled this to my grief. And I'm talking about like mainly me, maybe it's not everyone, but in my family, we were taught that women are to be stoic and tough. And grief is a low form of, like, they didn't talk frequency, but it's like, no, you're not going to sit and have a pity party. Are you kidding me? Like, freaking put your bootstraps on and get going. Like, no. And so, yeah, I mean, I
That's an
still,
excellent point. Hold on there.
yes, yeah,
I just learned something. Yum, yum, yum. I learned it. It's delicious. The grieving process actually made me more feminine.
yes,
Talking about it, or, just looking at it honestly and saying, well, even like through EMDR, when I said, I kind of didn't deserve that or whatever, that sucked. Like even that statement makes me sit in like this little authentic pool of like, okay. And I'm able to receive because I'm not holding on to something. I'm not pushing, right? I'm more open.
yeah,
So, okay. Hmm. Hmm. Grief requires the surrender of control. These are our damn notes, right? Not just over outcomes, but over. So grief requires the surrender of control over self-image, your pace, and your expectations of the linear healing. This portal doesn't ask for a plan. Psychologically, it strips away coping mechanisms until the core wound is visible. And that was kind of my fast track with EMDR, and I'm sure you do some work here. Just letting that core wound be visible, letting myself
yeah,
really be visible. Don't want that. That's scary. Energetically, it slows the Taurus to recalibrate around honesty. The word authenticity often gets really thrown around right now because it is the secret sauce, but like honesty. This surrender aligns you with a frequency that holds paradox and depth, and it's fertile ground for manifestations that are rooted in truth and not fantasy.
yeah. I mean, circling back to that codependency, that was probably the biggest one that hit me because I never believed an ounce in my body that wasn't independent. But there goes that hypervigilant control
Yeah,
because
it's
my
self-image,
previous,
right?
yep, yep, in my previous life, I controlled everything. Nothing surprised me because I thought 0 to 100, everything that could happen, and I was prepared for it all. And now I'm like, one step at a time, Alyssa, just one step at a time.
Yeah, I think, and also we went on to say that there's a portal that the surrender of control creates a portal that opens when we stop trying to script our rebirth. So you're like, I don't have to control everything. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be disgusting and messy and weird. That's something that I do have my oldest on my mind because she is going to that freaking NYU, and I'm scared and excited for her. Like, she is not afraid to be messy. This kid has made mistakes. She's done stupid shit. She is frolicked on beaches. She is and she doesn't apologize. Not because she's never run. She just doesn't. She's like, okay, I know that was bad, but I'm ready to I'm ready to do better. I'm ready to move on from it. And this sort of unapologetic. I guess she's just a constant portal. This is so interesting.
I love that.
And you got me thinking. So okay, how does this tour? Okay, so when someone is really in deep grief, like they're stuck, they're like, this is sad and I'm having a hard time getting out of this. The torus field doesn't just slow, it temporarily inverts. So our field is that donut shaped torus, right? And it'll invert temporarily. It folds inward to preserve energy and protect the system and limit unnecessary input. It's the body's way of buffering existential overwhelm. So when we feel stuck, when we're just like, God, I can't, I don't know, right? That's protection. It looks like isolation, silence, or cognitive fog. It's not dysfunction, though. We need to really step away from that, and it's actually more of a defense. When it's pathologized, that's when it becomes chronic, and that's when the torus loses momentum. But when this is honored and we acknowledge it, it starts to spin outward again because
Yeah.
you're signaling safety. It's safe to feel this.
Yeah.
It's safe to go. I'm okay. And I mean, in little by little, right? Gosh, I'm hurting my own feelings today. I don't like it. So I'm gonna say, and I know you say codependence, but what part of your identity fought the hardest to stay alive during your own transformation?
Oh my gosh. Okay. You talk about welling up in tears. This is my whole soul bawling right now because
I love that you're crying. I'm not laughing. I'm
no,
with
I
you.
know.
Okay. I
I
love this.
mean, literally, it lit me up so big, and that is the part that clung so hard because I know this is like we can't go into depths of this, but I literally had to greet Alyssa Muller, which was who I was with David, because we were the Mullers. Like our brand was the Mullers. Like we traveled around the world. We were vloggers. It was crazy awesome. But with the death of him, everything that I was with him had to die with him. And I had to acknowledge that and let that go. And literally, I still talk about Alyssa Muller, and I'm so grateful for her because she helped me get to, I know authenticity, we talked about this, but my true authentic self, it was not Alyssa Muller. That was for David. David's dream was to be this power couple that everybody loved and followed. And I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy it because I did. I loved lighting him up and seeing him live. That was the codependency. It wasn't bad. There's nothing wrong. It wasn't like I was in a beaten relationship. Again, not that that's wrong. It's like that's your lesson that you have to learn to stand up for your own independence and say, I don't deserve this. I think if David would have stayed alive, I eventually, because of my inner, I was already awakening and he could feel it. I would have already had a moment like, this is not the life that I'm meant to live, you
Totally.
know?
Totally. I
So yeah, it's codependence. Like literally, that's the part that I had to carve her out, and it resurfaced over and over, Mags, like literally constant death and rebirths and I really had a discussion with Alyssa Cooper, which was me before David. Um, I almost like had to kill all of her cells off within my body as well, but I let her live a little bit. But I know it sounds horrible, like talking on a live stream because people don't know who I am. They're like, "What is she talking about?" But there are parts of you that cannot go where the universe is literally opening portals for you. And that was what I learned after the death of David, is that I didn't have to leave the parts of me and burn a bridge. It's like honor those parts of me that got me here in gratitude and love. And there are parts that come
Sure.
back, poke a little bit like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to move to St. George, Utah? You don't know anyone there? Like, that sounds like the scariest thing ever. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm doing it.
Well, and so, okay, that's kind of what you touch on too. How we have to know the difference between real transformation and performance healing,
Yes.
right? So it's interesting because real transformation, it feels like disorientation, and then it's embodied. So there's that breaking open, right? You question your own scripts. Like I was like the perfect wife, right? The perfect wife. Like I wanted to be hot and cook stuff and be whatever. Um, but once that sort of got broken up, I lost the tolerance for the things that would numb me before. Whether that's like, alcohol, whether that's, the perfectionism. I don't know. I don't know. But there were a lot of those things. And I feel like when this happens, manifestation will feel slower at first because things are getting reorganized. But then when it arrives, it stays. So
Yes.
I had to let go of being like perfect wife, but now it's like, I don't know what the hell I am. I'm messy and real, and I still know that I'm a good mom, right? But I
Yeah.
feel like it may be even a better mom because I was more real and
Yeah.
a better
Well, you modeled for your children all those things so that
yeah.
they don't have to be. And I want to point out to your oldest daughter, I love that you allowed her to do all those things because I think, and I don't know this part about your children, but I know for my only child, she loved tie-dye from the minute that she could color. And I was like, gross, ew. But I let her do all those things because that's her life. That's her soul. That's her, embodiment here on this plane. And I didn't talk like this when she was growing up, but I felt it. I was like, oh, she's going to do her own thing. And it's obviously the opposite of me. But I always told people I've learned way more from her than I ever taught her. Like, and I feel like that's your oldest daughter, probably, or probably all your children,
Sure,
honestly, like
sure.
because you're such an open, very honest
Yeah.
mom, instead of trying to like, these children will behave, these children will look nice, these children, like that's not parenting anymore. You want to keep them safe, obviously, not helicopter, but you want them
It's
to be their authentic
it's
self.
it's
Yeah.
a double-edged sword though, Alyssa, because they will call out adults in their life. Not and they're never rude. They're very respectful kids. I will say that. But like they'll come home very frustrated with teachers and even Flo, the young,
Same.
right? Your kid
My daughter.
does this too.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Flo is so meek and sweet, and she's 12, and she would never do anything to like wrong anyone, right? But she'll be like, I don't think she wants to be a teacher, my teacher. And I'm like, and then she'll come and say, oh, Mr. So-and-so loves being a teacher. You can tell. Like, and so it's interesting because it sort of bursts their bubble. Like they get thrown into reality and awakening a little
Yes.
sooner. But I think that's us. I think Gen X and millennials are stewards for that generation to not have to be
Yeah.
blinded to actually see.
Absolutely.
Gosh.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Woo.
Yeah. If grief is the gatekeeper of expansion, how does one respectfully approach the gate? We
Yeah.
said you don't knock, you kind of have to wait till the door dissolves. Because if you keep knocking, it's just still there, right?
Yeah.
Respecting grief means entering barefoot, no agenda, no armor. It asks for slowness and stillness and surrender, which hell no, that sounds painful. Energetically, it means letting your Taurus compress and listen before it expands, meaning regroup, right? And grief grants access to higher frequencies only when your system proves it won't exploit them. Again, grief grants access to higher frequencies only when your system proves it won't exploit them. So you're not going to use higher frequencies to bypass. You're not going to spiritually just, the universe has your back. We know, Gabby, we know. But like, what else? Right? Not just, I'm going to be okay. you're going to be okay because you already are. Okay, number one.
Yes.
Number two, like it's okay to be not okay. It's
Yes.
okay to be like, you don't need to exploit being okay. It's okay not to be. Manifestation through this gate is different. It never chases, it draws. It literally switches your field to never chase. And I love it. I don't, I no longer chase in love. I will
Right.
not chase. And when there's a chase, like if I'm dating someone and it's in the beginning stages or whatever, and they do the little like I won't talk to you for 2 days thing, bye. Like
Yep.
that's not for me.
Zero.
You
Yep.
either worship me or you don't. The respect is in the patience. The respect is in the patience. The reward is in how deep you go. Why
Yeah.
are we hurting our own feelings today? What the? Listen, we're gonna keep this on the grid. We got to do this again.
Yeah. I've seen all these fires. Everybody's yes, we're touching some good healing right now, I think, on
And you
this
know what? I
live.
skipped like 10 of our little key points in the interest of time. You guys, so wait, you have a program. What's your program? We never even talked about this last
Yeah.
time.
I mean, because honestly, and I've shared this with you, it's a movement. So it's just I feel like what you said, it's not chasing, it's not the old alpha self of me like contacting people and telling them about it. It's like the people that feel aligned are going to ask for more information or follow me on Instagram and kind of get a taste and a feel. So it's called Cocoon to Butterfly, and it literally is what I went through after the death of my husband. But what I want to honor and give gratitude is it's something that I've gone through my entire life. I just did it as a very alpha female. And now I'm like you were just saying, I'm in my divine feminine. This is a completely different life. Creating this movement is also continually healing me because here's the thing is healing can be, I mean, we can trigger a lot of people with some of the stuff that we say because honestly, like we're all having our own human experience. So to me, healing will be ongoing. It's not that I need to be fixed or I'm broken. It's like the failing forward that I did before in my previous life. It's like I'm going to make mistakes.
Sure.
But what I do with them is what matters most, or how I honor them. And so that's still very alpha. In the divine feminine, what I do is when I hit a moment of grief or something that it triggers me. I mean, honestly, like that I know it's a popular word or challenges me. I go inward like what you just described, and it's like a mini cocoon. Sometimes I'm in the cocoon longer because I recognize I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. It's okay. It's okay to not be okay. But I do the internal questions. And it isn't a healthy inward. It's not a dysfunctional inward where I'm cutting the world off because I don't want to. Like, I don't want that person or I don't want this energy or I'm giving up on the world. The world sucks. No, it's like literally like, oh, I'm super curious about this.
Yep.
Where is it showing up in my chakras, in my body? And then I greet it. Like I'm literally like, hello, friend. Like, what am I learning today? Or what am I taking off the layers today? And I think that's for me what is taught in the Cocoon to Butterfly movement. You can do it for free. Literally, connect with me. I'll get you to. It's a portal that I have that literally goes through the 9 stages for free. It was a download that I got. Is like, Alisa, give this to the world because the world needs it. And then I just, as the movement started to build, because of my coaching background, I'm like, well, some people aren't going to do it without malleable, tangible things. So I created a box experience that can come and be delivered to your doorstep. You can do it alone or in a group setting like a book club. And then I got the download while I was in Brazil at a mastermind to do a live event. And I was like, for the love, like, have you ever like been in a place where you're like, really, universe, I don't want to be on stage again. But I know that that was my not fearful, but just myself of like, I know what that was like before.
Right.
And so it's kind of like that, ooh, you really want me to go there again? But now I'm in my divine feminine, so it's completely different. And we're having our first live event just south of Seattle at the Tacoma Convention Center, June 28th and 29th, where we'll do the box experience with 12 speakers on stage, leaving everyone with modalities. So like breath work, sound bowl healing, because I believe you can go to events, and how many of you guys have been to lots of events where you feel so great, but then you leave and you're like, okay, but life just hit me and I want that feeling back, but I don't know how to get the feeling back. We'll leave you with tools and equipping you basically so that you understand, okay, this is the moment where, sound healing really helped
Sure.
me, or that breath work really helped me. So,
What's
yeah, so it's, yeah.
But you bring up an interesting point. When we descend to ascend, right?
Yes.
You do get some do-overs, and I call them do-overs for lack of a better term.
Yes.
Like you will get the same opportunities that you had before in different font, different format, and then you get to choose to show up like authentically. So it's just funny that you say that because I do have plenty of opportunities to embody that perfectionistic wife all the time. I choose not to because now I'm going to do this differently,
Yes.
right? And in the positive sense, you have a chance now to do this without the codependency.
Yes. Yeah. Because I mean, I love that you brought that up in the highlight of us talking about Cocoon to Butterfly, because the scariest moment that I had, we had built 6 businesses. One was a brick and mortar that I just sold last July. Uh, I literally was like, I've never built a business alone. I've always had my mom as a partner, my parents, because that's the first business I had was gymnastics school, 28 years, beautiful. I bought it from them in the middle and then I did own it, but David and I were married. So there was the partnership. So yeah, but I'm 53 now. And I was like, I have to move forward and make some kind of income in this 3D realm,
Yeah.
so
Sure.
so yeah, it was just like, whoa, and now here I am doing it. And I call it trip falling. I'm making some mistakes along the way, but I'm learning and growing and I'm embracing it. And I think what it is it's modeling the new recalibration. We've touched on this a little bit, but it's a completely different subject matter of the uh alpha female moving into her divine feminine, and the men are slow to the party, but they're starting to wake up a little. But it's the recalibration of the divine masculine, divine feminine. And so I know you and I and many other on this live and many other in this world are feeling that, and as we recalibrate, we're calling in the divine masculine to recalibrate as well. And that will be the biggest shift in consciousness, which is ultimately what Cocoon to Butterfly was born, is to raise consciousness.
It'll be a storm. We're in the storm until 2027 is my prediction. We're in this.
Totally agree. Yep. So, and I was the download that I got was 2028. So I'm wondering if that's like when we're actually like,
I,
okay, it's working.
honestly, I keep thinking September 2027 we get some answers, and that's when things start to like how like when you're doing a puzzle it's all messy, like we're just dumped the puzzle out. Now we've got some pieces clicking in.
Love that.
Yeah. So
Well,
something that
I, I
recently.
do want to share something real quick before you move on. I just want to tell everybody that I met Mags a year ago and it was a download. I saw her and I was following her and I was like, I have got to get to know this woman. And she is part of the reason why Cocoon to Butterfly was birthed. So I just want to thank you. I'm so
You're
grateful
so
to you because
cute.
but you were a huge part of my evolution of who I am today. So thank you.
Love you. Somebody asked, and maybe you can attest to this. Someone said I jump into my divine feminine and then I jump back
Yeah.
out. Sometimes you will go to like a certain depth, right? Of realization, of grief, of emotional excavation. And then it sucks.
Yeah.
And then it's time to take breaks. So when you jump in, every time you jump back into this work, into that emotional excavation around grief, you actually fall deeper because you've already dug that hole.
Yeah.
So don't be judging yourself. Sometimes you jump in, and then sometimes you'll jump in so deep you won't want to come back out because it's warm down there and it's nice and there's water and
Comfortable.
like so that's interesting. So let's do this again because you're cute and really fun.
Aw,
And we should
love you.
we'll talk off camera. We should do like a Zoom thing, like a 2-hour Zoomy mini workshop or something.
Yeah, I would love that because then we could go a little bit more into the depths of like helping,
And
leaving.
people answering people's questions. So we'll do that. And I think people feel a little bit more open in a safe setting.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're amazing.
You're amazing.
I'll text you, but you guys, this will be on the grid. It's good to go. And let me know. And then if you guys have questions, send them to Alisa. She's got stuff. She's got all the.
Yeah, I'm happy to help.
And then
Yes.
your account is Alisa Ann Cooper.
Yes.
Alisa Ann Cooper. Obviously here. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
You
Thank
bet.
you. And everybody. All right.
Bye now.
Bye.